This episode of Lunch Break is brought to you by Bobby G's Chicago Eatery and Sports Bar in Milton, Georgia. Located 650 miles south of Chicago, Bobby G's strives to create an authentic Chicago eatery and sports experience right in the heart of the South. And this March, it is the only place to watch March Madness, offering food and drink specials throughout the tournament. Bobby G's, welcome to the big city.
Please don't bother me, I'm on my lunch break. Pizza, burger, sandwich, lunch break, tofu, salad, hot dog, lunch break.
Welcome to another episode of Lunch Break. I'm AJ McNaughton.
I'm Kathleen Sturgeon.
And with us today in studio, special guest James Carr.
What's up, everybody?
How you doing, James?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Doing good. James is with the Atlanta-based Longleaf Media, which creates content, hosts events, and raises money in support of small-scale, sustainable farmers and the good food movement.
That's right.
How long have you been involved? Well, you are Longleaf Media.
I am Longleaf Media, and together we've existed for almost exactly 1 year.
But you've always been very involved with food.
Well, I wouldn't say always. In this sort of realm of communication, marketing, event promotion, I actually started in sports journalism. So when I was the sports director at the University of Georgia's radio station, WUOG.
Oh, so you're very comfortable being behind the mic.
Extremely. Actually, so when I was in high school, I was the chief editor of the Eagle edition at Milton. And I had done a little bit of TV stuff, and I knew that I really wanted to be in journalism or communication. But when I first walked into WUOG and was had the mic set up, I was like, this is what I want to do.
Felt like home.
It felt like home. It was like, this is the area that I want to be in.
So what did you do before that, before starting your own business?
After UGA, when I graduated, I worked for Fox Sports South for a couple of years. I worked for a company called the Shadow League, which at the time was a subsidiary of ESPN and now is doing their own thing, which is really cool. I'm actually pumped to see a lot of the stuff they've been doing. That was where I sort of started transitioning from sports. I started writing a little bit more about music, a little bit more about culture and politics. And there got to a point where certainly now you can say, well, this country has a lot of issues without getting much pushback. But even at the time, 3 or 4 years ago, I felt like there was just mounting pressure, a lot of things building, whether it's climate change, whether it was social inequality. And I started doing more and more research. And I came to the conclusion that food was central to, or at least tangential to almost every problem that we're facing, whether it's our healthcare issue. We shut down the government, costs us billions of dollars. And we argue about how we're going to take care of sick people. But we don't really talk about how we're going to create a healthier society. And we see this sort of play out throughout the various discussions. We talk about climate change and what we're going to do, but we really don't talk a whole lot about how we can change what we're doing now, and especially not in food. I mean, the amount of meat that we eat is just so disproportionate to what we're supposed to be doing, and it causes a ton of issues with emissions and different stuff like that.
Are you a vegan?
I'm not a vegan, no.
Vegetarian?
No, I still eat meat. I eat meat that I know how it's been raised, and it's primarily from the state of Georgia. Part of the issue we have in farming is that we separated animals from the farm. And animals provide that source of fertilizer that the plants need to grow. They've never been separated in nature or on farming until the last 50 years we started doing that. And we've started seeing significant amount of problems with that too. There's, issues about the runoff. Now you have to actually take care of the manure. What are you going to do with it? In North Carolina, they have these hog farms. When you look into it, it's really, really disgusting.
What's disgusting about it?
So the way they take care of their manure
You don't wanna know.
is that they dug out these lakes and they started just pouring it in there.
It's a poop lake.
It's like a poop lake, but then once that got overflowed, they started putting it into a sprinkler system with fine drop mist and spraying it. And so nearby neighbors were complaining
something smells.
Something smells, and then it was found out what it was. And so there was this whole thing about...
And that's in North Carolina?
Yeah.
So food was that cause that you wanted to get involved with?
Yeah, because like I said, it just seemed to me to be a central underlying issue to so many other issues that we're having. And we're not talking about agriculture as a solution to those problems. And, I think that at the very least, I hate that we have this silver bullet mentality, oh, well, that's the solution, not this. It's we're going to need action on multiple fronts.
It's not just one thing is going to fix
catch-all.
it.
No one thing is going to catch it, but agriculture would be the biggest thing we can do because it impacts our personal health, public health, and the health of our environment. Small scale sustainable farmers create educational opportunities for kids, like hands-on, like really healthy spaces.
Well, and we talked last week, and you had mentioned a TED Talk with
Ron Finley.
Ron Finley.
Yes.
And so Kathleen and I both watched it. And
It
I
was
think
great.
Yeah, I think a lot of what he was talking about, and I guess for the listeners who don't know, Ron Finley is from South Central LA.
Los Angeles.
I guess now rebranded it as South LA to kind of...
They
and
tried to, but nothing changed besides the name.
Right, yeah.
There was a lot of poverty. There was a lot of fast food chains.
A lot of vacant lots.
And there was no
fresh food.
No fresh food. And so he decided to do some urban gardening.
And get the community involved, not just like bring the food to them, but also get them involved too, which, obviously has a long lasting effect.
Yep. And of course he found out that it wasn't legal to do that. That's kind of how Ron became an activist. I think he calls himself an accidental activist, or he just wanted to plant some carrots in his front yard. And the city of LA was like, you can't do that.
He was planting them in the parkway between the street and the sidewalk.
That little patch, that 1 foot area of grass that you are legally required to maintain. And what Ron didn't realize is that you were only supposed to mow it. You couldn't maintain it any way you wanted. And that was sort of the fight that he put up, was like, well, I can maintain it and it will look better than your grass. And it will do something for the community and it will look nice. And eventually the city had to overturn their laws, obviously. He was the only source of fresh food for miles. And I think, the most compelling line, or he has a lot of compelling lines in that TED Talk. And again, his name is Ron Finley. I would recommend checking it out. He says the drive-thrus kill way more people than the drive-bys. Mm-hmm. Yet the drive-bys are getting all of the attention. And again, this kind of comes back to what I was saying. Agriculture is a solution. It can bring people together. We can solve a lot of issues using it. And he found that. Once he started planting his garden, people came up to it. People were surprised at how cool his sunflowers looked. I think he was like, is that real? So, yeah, it's just amazing how it can transform it. And I think another really compelling line that he uses, something like, if you put beauty in a place that doesn't have any, it's a game changer. Just showing, like, in these neighborhoods that really have been decimated by all kinds of different aspects, just showing that you really care. And I found that, in Atlanta, you see the same thing when we get groups of volunteers and go try to do something positive in the community. They see that and they're appreciative of something positive coming in.
Well, I thought it was really cool when he was talking about how they went into the prisons, right?
It was a homeless shelter.
Homeless shelter? Okay, yeah. And that they were kind of responsible for their own garden too. He
went to a homeless shelter and was planting food with the people there.
Yeah, awesome. And they liked being involved, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, there was a, in downtown Atlanta, there was the Peachtree and Pine homeless shelter, which they actually just shuttered a few weeks ago, which was unfortunate, but it actually had the best rooftop garden in the city. It was amazing. And yeah, I always thought it was a real missed opportunity because the city could have probably leveraged that, turned it into something. They needed a few more resources to like get a kitchen together, but the city wanted the shelter gone more than they wanted to fix the solution or the problem. So
I feel like that's a lot of where things, they always like accumulate like that, where it's like, oh, we'd rather just not have the problem rather than trying to fix it. Like, let's just act like it's not a thing. We're just going to ignore it. And then it creates more problems and then it just keeps going. But it's like, if you just addressed it or tried to prevent it.
We're at a time now where we have to address the root causes of a lot of problems. We've been putting Band-Aids on top of Band-Aids for a long time. And so things are either going to break, or we're going to decide to take the time to do the hard work necessary to solve some of these problems. And I don't know which one we're going to do. I think it's up to sort of everybody in certain situations. But when I think about things breaking, what I mean is like, what is going to happen if New York is hit by another Sandy? Are they going to be able to rebuild that subway again? I don't think so. New Orleans, I don't think will be able to withstand another Katrina. What is going to happen to these places? Where are people going to go? What are they going to do? What are we going to do when we have automatic driving cars that are going to take millions of people? Are just going to remove their full income or their supplemental income?
Were we talking about that? How robots are going to take the place of human jobs?
I don't know if we've talked about it, but did you see last week, or it might have been this week, in California, they started testing out Flippy. There's a robot arm that flips burgers.
Oh, I thought it was going to be flipping water bottles. Oh, no. My brother is he was super into that. Trying to flip the water bottle over and land.
Yeah.
I thought but
but burgers.
Why would
I mean,
you need a
that's-
robot for that?
Because he could be perfect at it. I guess the
This is the lunch break podcast.
exactly the hamburger flipping robot is kind of scary though, because
Millions of jobs. And it's, we I don't think anyone really wants those jobs. So it's sort of like, but like, what else are you going to do? We haven't created many opportunities for people. And I think, frankly, it's a perfect example of what Ron was talking about, right? We don't want to keep paying people a living wage to just flip burgers. So we're just going to put a robot in there. But what if we got rid of the burger joint and put in a garden where people could have hands-on, real, tangible jobs that were building health and building community, instead of creating more heart disease and diabetes. I mean, we quite literally subsidize heart disease and diabetes in this country. They're the two biggest killers in this country. The Journal of American Medical Association estimates that 50% of those deaths are all preventable through diet. Mm-hmm. And yet somehow meat is cheaper than vegetables because of what we subsidize. And now we have the highest healthcare costs in the world. And the argument is that we spend much less on food than anywhere else, but we spend much more on healthcare. So it's just a matter of how you do your accounting. If you take a bigger picture view on it, we're not coming out ahead.
That's so over the past few years, I've been trying to lose weight, and because it's easy to just go and buy cheap food
McDonald's.
that's bad for you. Yeah, and so a lot of times what we talk about is like, oh, it might be more expensive to buy fresh food, but at the same time, it's like you put this investment in your body now. In the end, are you gonna live longer? Are you not gonna have as many health problems? So the cost wise, it kind of plays out, it'll probably balance out, but in the end it's like you only get one body. Yep. So why not invest in it?
Yeah. It's tough because that question can, because like, I mean, we could get in a car accident later today and you're like, damn, I wish I had that pizza.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of tough for people. And I totally get that. And, it's a long process. I think even for me, I mean, I try to eat as well as I can. It took me a long time to get where I'm at,
What did you have for dinner last night?
I actually made a meal from Peach Dish.
Okay.
Peach Dish is my favorite meal kit company. They're based here in Georgia. They source only from organic and sustainable farmers. And the cool thing about what they do is they help their farmers expand. There'll be a farmer, they'll be in sort of discussion and it'll be like, well, I have this extra acre, but I don't really want to put it in production. And Peach Dish will be like, well, let's figure out a model where we can help you put that extra acre in because we'll buy it all out. And they're growing. And so anyway, it was like an egg noodle and mushroom dish. I actually wasn't a huge fan of it, but Jessie loved it. That's my wife, Jessie.
Well, that's good. And you do most of the cooking, right?
Yeah, I would say, I don't know if it's most anymore. It was for a while where I was definitely doing most of the cooking. But my schedule got a little crazy this year, and so Jessie's been doing more. Now it's actually kind of funny. Jessie really cooks more of the breakfast, and I'll cook the dinners. That's kind of how it's shaping up right now.
I'm like kind of surprised though, because you don't seem, excited about food at all.
So you live in Atlanta.
I live in Atlanta.
Do you live in a house, an apartment?
So it's a house, but we live just on the top floor.
Do you have a garden at home?
I had a garden, and this is one of the woes of being a renter. I don't control the lawn management service, and this fall they just mowed it all over, which I really don't know.
Mowed your garden over?
Yeah.
You had plants in there, they just mowed over it?
Yeah, carrots. I had beets, arugula. I had some peas. Actually, the peas were fine, but then they ended up dying in the freeze because I got so sad that I didn't bother to keep taking care of just 2 pea plants. They just mowed it all over, and I'm sort of dumbstruck. It's clearly divided. Like it's not a part of the lawn. It's not like I just dug up part of the lawn. Like there's bricks. There was like a little space. My landlord was like, yeah, you can do whatever you want there. So I had a garden, and it was pretty cool in last summer.
I prepared games for the second segment, and I have a feeling James is going to be winning all of the games.
Yeah, that's probably a good guess.
So I was coming up with the games, the different mini games, and one of them was based off of popular brands of, like popular big name foods and everything. And I was talking to Kimber, and I was like, oh, James is going to be on the show, and I have these games planned out, and she's like, I don't know if you should do those for James. It's like, you should do like fruits and vegetable type things. I was like,
that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. So
well, it depends who wants to win the game. If you wanted to win the game, then you could have stuck with the original idea.
What is your favorite vegetable to eat?
Good question.
Wow, that is a good
question. Do you have one?
I would actually, yes, I do. And I would say it's a patty pan squash.
I don't know what that is.
Patty pan squash. It actually, like, if you could picture like the stereotypical alien spaceship. That's kind of what it looks like. It has a nickname, alien squash. So it's like kind of round. It's like, I'm going to do a terrible job of trying to describe it, but I'm going to show you a picture.
Well, I think UFO shaped is a good.
It's UFO shaped.
Yeah,
it is. If you see one, if you see a patty pan squash, you'll immediately know what I'm saying.
How do you cut it up? Cube it?
So my favorite way of preparing it is actually to slice it long ways and grill it, burn it a little bit, a little salt and pepper. God, it's unbelievable. But yeah, is it a little flying saucer?
Yeah.
You see it?
Oh, yeah.
It almost looks like a pumpkin pie.
Yeah, it looks like a pie.
Yeah.
You're just like so happy. Yeah, it does.
Patty pan squash. I would say that's my favorite vegetable.
Where do you get that kind of food? Like those specialized produce?
You gotta go to the farmer's market.
Ah.
You gotta get that local produce.
Do you have a favorite farmer's market?
Ooh. I think I would say probably the Grant Park Farmers Market, but maybe the Freedom Farmers Market. But the one I go to most, because I live next door, practically next door, is Morningside Farmers Market. And I love the Morningside Farmers Market. As they've developed such a great community, and Mark, who runs it, is just a joy of a human being. He's just so uplifting every time I see him. And that's probably my favorite part about going to the farmers market, is just the community that develops, and you start seeing people every week, and you can ask the farmer you're buying from, like, the patty pan squash, like, what do I do with this? This is crazy. And they'll be like, oh, here's like 3 recipes. And, the comparison of that when I obviously still shop at grocery stores for some things. Just the comparison is just night and day. I mean, I don't talk to anybody in a grocery store. And so obviously some people like that, and so I definitely respect, everybody is different. But there is something very warm about going to a place and you're recognized. And
I'm sure if you were to ask some of the questions that you would ask at a farmer's market to someone at the grocery store, they probably wouldn't have any idea.
I don't know. The apple guy at Kroger's pretty friendly.
Is he?
Yes, my mom likes one type of apple and they keep not having it in stock, and so she made friends with him to get him to bring it in.
Nice.
Okay, that was like last week, so I don't know if it's going to actually happen yet, but I understand what you mean. We go to like self-checkout, try not to talk to people.
Yeah.
It's
like, I just want to get out of here. And to your point, actually, like, I don't think I've ever actually asked someone at Kroger, what do you do with this? And maybe it's something about the environment in which, I'm not really buying it from them. They just work there. As opposed to like when you go to a farmer's market, you're buying from the person who grew it, and they grew it for a reason because they know it tastes like this, or because maybe some of their favorite chefs in town love it and they prepare it like this. It's just a more intimate and connected relationship.
We go to a farmer's market off of Peachtree Street.
Oh, the Peachtree Road Farmer's Market?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's popping.
Yeah, they have Golda is always there. Golda kombucha.
Yes.
And they're actually opening a tap room.
They are.
Off of the Beltline. Kimber's super excited about that. Do you drink kombucha?
I don't know what that is now.
It's fermented tea.
Oh.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's how I always describe it, but they have different flavors.
It's like alive.
It has a probiotic in it.
Yeah.
Is this vegetarian?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I guess.
It's alive?
Well, it's like yogurt.
I mean,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, I guess like vegetables were alive too, right? So
Technically.
kind of, yeah.
You just didn't hear them scream.
Yeah, exactly.
I would recommend it.
Okay, I'll have to try it.
They have them at Kroger. It's like GT's, I think, is the popular one. My favorite is the Guava Goddess.
Ooh.
Because I am a Guava Goddess.
Ah, that makes sense.
And it's funny. I don't think I've ever actually seen a physical guava.
I don't think I have either.
I don't have,
They don't grow around here.
Right. I guess maybe it's good.
Yeah. You shouldn't have seen one.
Yeah. That's the farmer's market we like to go to.
Yeah, that's a great one.
My dentist is on the same street.
Fun fact.
Learning a lot about AJ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does your company do?
That's a great question. I do a lot of different things. I mean, I honestly, I just try to help where I can, frankly. But coming from like a journalism background, writing is my strong suit. So I do a lot of ghostwriting or marketing copy, or just getting people's social media plans set up, setting up event pages, Eventbrite, but also like web management, event calendars, just all kinds of stuff, helping with digital marketing and how your brand is being perceived. A lot of the problem in the local food movement is people will be talking and it's just going over people's heads because they're so far down in what is sadly still a niche movement. It's like they're so deep in it, they don't realize that people have no idea what they're talking about and how it connects to their daily lives. And that's kind of one of the biggest problems with both the environmental and the food movement is it does a poor job of bringing it back home. The environmental movement has been about polar bears. And it's like, people are like, well, it's sad, but I don't care. A lot of that's what I do. And creating events where people can connect directly to gardening or farming or the food, really. And so like Peachfest was something I was a part of last year. It was the first ever Peachfest we did in downtown Atlanta. And we had all of the food was from Georgia. And we had some of the best chefs in Atlanta. And they had to prepare all kinds of different dishes and they had to have some element of peach. And it was really cool. We had like a 4-week promotional window. The guy who started it, Brady Lowe, is a madman. But we pulled it off. It was pretty amazing. And so now we've got this Peach Fest that we're starting to work on already. Get people hyped. It's going to be on July 29th, downtown Atlanta again. And I think it's going to be it's going to be really cool this year. And we want to have just different ways for people to engage with the farmers and learn the different tastes that are out there. I mean, with like pork, people are used to this like one type of pork, this one type of pig that grows up. And there's all different kinds of types of pigs and they have different flavors and textures and they do different things for the soil. And like,
Kathleen is very excited about it.
I didn't know that's a thing.
Oh, it's totally a thing. And it's cool like in Georgia because we have different terrains. Like there's a coastal, like a pig that's more suited to the coastal areas, and there's pigs that are more suited to all different types of things. Yeah, and they sort of move through they do different things to the environment, but they totally have different tastes and flavors, and it's amazing what you can be brought out of it. I mean, it's amazing. I've been blown away. So we're just trying to reconnect people to that. Like pork doesn't have one flavor, it has many. We can create a world by investing in these different farmers who are interested in those types of things and have better tasting food and be healthier and have a healthier planet. Like to me, it's the best. It's like the best movement because if we see it through, our food will taste better.
You just got really excited.
Dude, who doesn't get excited about good tasting food?
Yeah, about pigs. Mm-hmm. Coastal pigs.
Coastal pigs, the Ossabaw, baby. It's a hairy pig.
So Peach Fest is in July?
Peach Fest, July 29th, downtown Atlanta. Tickets are available.
Do you have a specific location, or you just like go downtown Atlanta and you
find some peaches?
It is just off Peachtree Street.
Oh, okay.
It's on Broad Street, which is kind of not really a street anymore. They just boardwalked it. The easiest way to find it is it's next to the Flatiron building. It's Flatiron City, which is 84 Peachtree Street. If you just head to that area, you'll start smelling the food.
Smelling the peaches.
Follow your nose.
Peaches and the pigs.
Is there a MARTA stop near there?
There is, yes. I think it's Peachtree Center. And that'll take you very, very close.
You had an event not too long ago where Ron Finley came to Atlanta.
He did. He totally surprised us. There's a film that's about Ron and several other growers in South Central and sort of about their efforts to change the food that's available. They had different reasons for doing so. One was a young girl whose dad was had to keep going to the ER for his heart problems, and she just wanted to grow vegetables so he would live longer. There was another man who was transitioning out of prison and found this as a way to connect, to people and to life, and it sort of gave him strength. There was a couple of other people in there who just been going through some tough times and found the garden as like this place of solitude. And it's a really powerful film. John Legend actually was the executive producer. A couple of years ago, we did a screening, and then we did a day of action where it was similar to what we were discussing earlier, like this patch of just grass that no one's doing anything with. We planted some trees and some perennial plants there, so now it looks cool. I actually just went by yesterday and visited, and the one tree we planted is like doing really well.
Oh, that's good. What kind of tree is it?
I don't remember. I actually, to be honest, I didn't actually attend the first planting because I had a work conflict. So anyway, we brought it back again this year, and we had a ton of interest in seeing the film. Ron found out about it. We had kind of sent a couple of emails back and forth, and lo and behold, he surprised us by showing up at the screening. One of the things Ron says at the end of his TED Talk is, we don't really want to just have people, we're tired of having people coming around the table and talking about some shit. We just want to plant some shit. And the point is, like, just get out there and start doing something. Just plant some food, and or just not, you don't really have to plant food, but just get back in touch. Figure out the cycles. This is what we've been doing for hundreds of thousands of years on this planet. And we're totally disconnected from it. And we organized a Plant Some Shit Day where we had 7 different sites, and they were either community gardens or urban farms. And we planted a little over 75 fruit trees. And then we helped those farmers get ready for the growing season, like moving dirt around or mulch, and just doing some of that heavy lifting that would just takes time. There's not even a whole lot of skill involved, but it just takes a long time. And so we wanted to just help those farmers get ready for a successful growing season. We had about 80 people turn out and plant trees, and Ron was out there and taking pictures and videos. He didn't really help us plant any shit, but it was just really inspiring, and it was cool to see that he recognized what we were doing. And, we're definitely going to keep that momentum going into next year and make this an annual type of thing where we just really want people to be engaging with in your front lawn, in a community garden or an urban farm or just a farm. It doesn't matter the setting. They're going to need your help in February. They could use your support. Get your garden ready so that you can have a successful growing season.
Do you have any tips for starting your own garden at home?
The main tip is you got to get some good compost in there. And so even before you're necessarily starting to plant your garden, you can start composting. Composting involves essentially saving, vegetable scraps, fruit scraps, egg shells, but you don't really want to have any meat in there or any oil, so stuff can't really be cooked. But fresh vegetable scraps, you can start composting. And there's many different ways of composting depending on your setup, but you can get an enclosed composting system from somewhere like a Home Depot or something like that. Maybe an Ace Hardware would be better to reference. So starting to compost, you start to build your healthy soil. And if you don't have a good plot to garden, if you don't have good soil, you can do a raised bed and fill it with compost. One of my favorite methods of transforming something that isn't usable to something that is usable is by layering cardboard. If you layer cardboard and then a layer of newspaper, and then you put some compost down, what you're going to do is create a layer that's going to absorb a ton of moisture and also block out your weeds. So if you start it's called lasagna gardening, actually, if you do that with those layers. And you can look up more how to do that. But it's a way of essentially just giving your soil new life. That would be the easiest way to start then planting in there. And this is a really, really good time to start getting your soil ready and your beds ready, because if you start doing this kind of thing in May, you're going to end up being a little too late, and the sun is going to be too hot. Your plants are going to be a little underdeveloped, especially this summer is looking like we're going to have a really hot one.
Have you heard about where people, this is not so much food related, but where they try to contain all of their trash into like jars?
Oh, that's interesting.
Have you heard that? I have friends who read an article or something and now they're trying to do it.
What kind of trash? Like chip bags?
Like anything you use you can determine the amount of time. Some people do it for like a week or even like a day, depending on how much you use. So if you go out to eat, then you have to all the trash, or anything that you use throughout the day, they try to minimize how much they're putting into landfills. And so they try to do, obviously you can't like go to Kroger and say, oh, I want whatever this food item is. Can I just take it?
That's interesting, like buying in bulk.
Yeah, that would be the solution. Like, and if you go to farmers markets, then obviously you bring your own bags, so then you don't have plastic bags to put things in, that kind of thing. But it's pretty interesting, but I think it's really difficult in our society, obviously, right now.
It's not designed for that.
Yeah.
It's designed so that we keep throwing things away and keep buying new stuff.
Do you only eat food that is locally grown and in season?
Well, the beautiful thing about eating locally is that you have to eat seasonally. So I don't. Like, I have bananas in my house pretty much all year round, avocados, but I try not to buy tomatoes. I mean, I'll end up getting some canned tomatoes, and that's a little different actually, because when you can a tomato, the process of canning it can increase the certain health benefits of it. There's certain stuff that was meant to also be preserved in a type of way. So, doing things like preserving can give your food new life. And so you can eat more out of season. And that is the next step that I want to get to, is really learning how to make sauces and jams and can things. That's the next level that I want to get to, because that also comes back to the cost of food. If I go to a farmer's market and buy a ton of tomatoes when they're in season and they're practically giving them away, then I just turn that into sauce and, take that time during the summer to do that. And then I don't have to buy tomatoes when they're super expensive. Mm-hmm. They've been flown in from wherever. And I can still have that stuff that's out of season. But there are very few people who can actually live completely and totally seasonally and without any support from a grocery store, just in our modern lifestyle. And I don't think that we need to get to that point. But, if people could be growing just one or two of their favorite items in their lawn and buying a handful of items from a farmer that they know every week, you're talking about a major radical shift in how our culture develops, and where the money goes. And when we spend our money at Kroger, That leaves our community like the next day. When you spend it with a farmer, that farmer is increasing the value of their property. They're being able to hire people locally. They're going to put that money, the money that they spend is going to go back into the supporting schools and all that. You know, when you support Kroger, who are you supporting? I don't know. I can't answer that. I don't know.
Do you ever like judge people?
Oh, I've had to stop doing that. That's just a huge problem because it doesn't help. I'm trying to connect with people. So it's a lot of going back to sociology, right? Putting myself in other people's shoes and just remembering where I was at a few years ago. I mean, when I was, watching sports games and drinking Bud Lights and eating burgers, like, hey, by the way, that's a lot of fun. I'm not knocking it. It's but it's just a transition, and so no, I don't judge anyone, and I definitely, the more I go into it, the more I see. I keep using the word design. It is designed for us to live that way. So I'm not going to judge somebody for following the simplest, most direct path that has been laid out for them.
Food fight.
This next segment is called Food Fight, where Kathleen competes against our special guest to see who knows more pointless food trivia. We'll play 4 rounds of mini-games. Each round has a different point value. The person with the most points at the end of the game wins. Our first game is called Eat Your Veggies. I will list off vegetables, and you need to tell me if it's harvested in the spring/fall or in the summer.
Okay.
The first person to buzz in and correctly answer will be rewarded 1 point. If you guess wrong, your opponent will get the point, since there's only 2 options. So, James, you have the bell. And Kathleen has the squeaker again. The first vegetable is broccoli. James?
Spring/fall.
That's right.
It's really more of a winter crop, if I were to say.
If we're going to get specific.
We're going to get super specific.
I think it was listed as a hardy vegetable, correct?
Very hardy.
Mm-hmm.
The next vegetable is kale.
Same. Spring and fall. Right now. Actually, this week is an amazing week to buy local kale because kale, when it gets below freezing, like it will tonight, it releases a sugar enzyme in order to survive. So local kale will be very sweet this week.
Fun fact.
I don't like kale.
You don't?
No.
You got to try some of this sweet kale.
Kathleen, just a reminder, you have a 50-50 shot. So.
I know, yeah.
So don't be afraid of the buzzer.
I'm waiting for the ones that I get fresh all the time that I know.
Okay. Well, this one isn't a vegetable. Melons.
Summer.
Summer is correct.
Yes, I was thinking watermelon.
Yeah,
it's better in the summer.
The next vegetable are turnips.
Spring, fall.
Yep.
Turnip.
James got it. The next vegetable is cucumber.
Summer.
He's so excited too.
Yeah, I mean, Kathleen, you got 1, so
I'm pretty proud of the 1, okay?
You're not going to get swept.
It's better than we thought, yeah.
Well, this next one, get ready. Corn.
Summer.
Oh.
Yes.
The basic vegetables that I eat, you can tell.
Corn and melons.
Yes.
That's my summer diet.
That's all you need.
It is a good summer diet, though, when it is fresh.
Yeah, for real. That's like 2 of the 3 things you need at a barbecue.
The next vegetable
Gotta get ready.
is cabbage.
That's another fall veg. Seems like we're pretty much splitting them here.
The next vegetable are Brussels sprouts. James.
Fall. Spring.
Got that right. You know, it's actually a sprout from the country of Brussels.
I didn't know that.
Because it's Brussels, like
It's Brussels.
multiple, not just Brussels sprout, right?
The sprouts are multiple also. Brussels is the country.
Right.
The next vegetable are peppers. Kathleen?
Summer.
That's correct.
We grow jalapeno peppers.
There you go.
There you go.
If that counts. That's the only thing we grow. We've tried to grow zucchini and squash, but my mom doesn't want to use like pesticides or anything, and she doesn't want to cover. I don't know. It's just a whole big thing. Jalapeno peppers are the best for us.
There you go. You got to find what works.
This is the last one. Technically not a vegetable.
Ooh.
Beans.
Well, that's tough, man. I mean, depending on the bean, you're talking about different types of year.
Okay. I'll give you both a point then.
Yeah.
This said summer.
Yeah.
Kathleen was like, that's why I was confused.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to say summer, but I was going to let him have it.
Yeah. So what kind of beans do you grow in the summer as opposed to beans that you grow in the fall?
Pole beans pretty much is a big winner. Pole beans kind of covers a lot of different things, but those are the beans that, are growing up and you got to trellis them.
I eat beans for lunch.
Nice.
Fun fact.
What kind?
Green beans I love green beans.
Green beans are the worst. That's the one vegetable I do not like.
One vegetable.
There aren't many vegetables that I don't like.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Are olives a vegetable?
Olives? That's a good question.
Because I'm not a fan of olives either.
I'm not a fan of
I
olives.
love olives.
They must be a vegetable, but I kind of actually think they might be a fruit.
Well, whatever they are, I don't like them.
Yeah.
They have pits, so does that make them...
I have pits.
So you're a fruit.
Well, he's a what is it? A guava?
A guava goddess.
Right. Yeah. So.
Okay, so at the end of round 1, James is in the lead with 7 points. Kathleen, you actually have 4, so not too far behind.
4?
Well, because you both got one on the last question.
Oh, okay.
Our next game is Table Talk, and we're changing up the rules slightly from how we've played it in previous episodes. I have food-related items written on a set of cards. I will give clues to the word written. Each contestant will have 60 seconds to guess as many words correctly as possible. If you don't know the answer or it's taking too long, you can pass and we'll come back to it. Each correct answer is worth 2 points. This is an amphibian.
A lizard?
Kermit is one of them.
A frog.
And you eat part of their appendages.
Frog legs?
This is, you get them from the Gulf. You can get
oysters.
Chocolate and vanilla are varieties.
Ice cream?
Similar. It's Jell-O is a type of it.
Pudding?
Yes. This comes from, actually, it's a delicacy in Hawaii. It's a meat, comes in a can.
Spam?
Yeah. These, you can get them on a burger. They're in vinegar. It was once a cucumber.
Pickle.
These you get, it's a side from KFC, I think you can get them. They're dough with corn in them sometimes.
Hush puppies?
Yes. And, okay. Yeah, that was pretty good.
That was pretty good. I got to give you a lot of credit, though. You're good at those descriptions.
Thank you.
That Kermit one?
Yeah,
nice.
Right? Well, and did you know that Spam was a delicacy?
I didn't. No. So that didn't really help at all. I just sort of actually totally winged it on that
That's how
one.
most of these games go. Did you hear him a few episodes ago? What was it? It was waffles or something. And
yeah.
And Steve said pancakes, and you were like, "It's not that. It's another thing." Like, well, okay.
So James, you got 6 correct. So you get a grand total of 12 points from that round.
All right. I feel good about that.
This, you get an Italian restaurant as an appetizer.
Soup?
No.
Breadsticks?
Close. Vampires wouldn't eat them.
Garlic knots, garlic bread.
This is a type of fish. It comes in a can most commonly.
Tuna?
Yes. This is a fruit. Tropical. I don't really know how else to explain it.
Guava.
It's not that. There was an SNL character played by Chris Kattan named after this. No? Okay, pass. This comes out in October from Starbucks.
Pumpkin spice latte?
Yes. This is a type of cereal, Toucan Sam.
Fruit Loops?
Yeah. It's made from pig. It is
bacon?
Yes. This is a breakfast fruit. It looks like an orange, but it's bigger than an orange.
Tangerine?
No.
Mandarin?
No, it's bigger than that.
Can I steal?
Yeah.
Grapefruit.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm not actually going to give you a point for grapefruit.
Fine.
What was the tropical fruit?
Mangoes?
Oh.
I didn't really know how to explain that one.
Yeah.
Fun, yeah.
Kathleen, you got 5 correct, so 10 points for that round. Currently, the score is 19-14, James. Going into round 3.
Alrighty.
This one is called the Showcase Chowdown. Today we are focusing on fruit-producing states. I'm going to give you a state and a fruit, and you need to guess the amount of fruit produced by that state. The person closest to the actual amount without going over will be rewarded 3 points. If you're both over, you'll both guess again. Georgia ranked 3rd in peach production in 2014. How many thousands of tons did the peach state produce?
15,000? 10,000 tons?
10,000 tons.
The actual amount was 33,000 tons. So James was
a lot of
closer.
peaches. Dang.
Well,
Do you happen to know who's a... Oh, yeah.
California produced the most. You know how much they did? 620,000
Wow.
tons. So, I mean, they dwarfed them. California actually produces a lot of...
Everything.
Yeah. So, Michigan led the U.S. in cultivated blueberry production in 2014. How many million pounds did they produce?
I'm going to say 65 million pounds.
20.
It was 99 million pounds.
Dang.
James gets the point.
So apparently I need to start guessing a lot higher.
It's hard to fathom, I mean, the United States really does feed a lot of the world. It's crazy. It's not just about this country.
The world.
Was that a G note there? Or
Yeah.
Kathleen's like,
What is going on? Yeah, I'm ready to leave. It's already been
it's
been over an hour. Okay. Washington produced the most sweet cherries in 2014. How many thousands of tons did they produce?
75.
I was going to say 70, so.
It was a lot more. It was 237,000
Oh my gosh.
tons.
That is crazy.
James gets the 3 points. James is starting to run away with it. Kiwi is a relatively new crop grown in California, first commercially planted in the late 1960s. How many thousands of tons did they produce in 2014?
12.
50.
Now you're too much. It was 28,000 tons. So James
It's hard to get those kiwi vines established. That's how I was like, it's going to be a little lower.
Here we go. Guava goddess. Hawaii is the only state to commercially grow guava. How many millions of pounds did they produce in 2014?
2?
100.
You're both over.
Oh,
Over.
wow.
And I'll give you a hint. It's 1 point something.
1.2.
1.5.
It's 1.7 million. Kathleen gets the point.
Finally! I'm the true guava goddess.
I was like, where's Hawaii going to get room to grow 100 million pounds?
Oh, true. I don't know. At this point, I'm
They
just
got a
guessing.
bunch of floating orchards nearby.
That'd be cool.
That would be cool. I don't know how the trees would handle the salt water, but
So at the end of round 3, James has a commanding lead, 31 to Kathleen 17.
all right.
For our final round, this game comes from a Japanese proverb. A meal without rice is no meal. The point system is Final Jeopardy style. You can wager as many points as you have and as few as 0. Rice farming is the largest single use of land for producing food, and 90% of all rice is produced in Asia. Your final challenge is to put the top 4 rice-producing countries in order of most rice produced to least. So your countries are Indonesia, India, China, and Bangladesh. Kathleen, since you're currently in second, we'll have you go first.
17 points.
17 points wagering it all.
Because can I really go anywhere from here? I mean, Okay, my countries in order from most to least: India, Bangladesh, Indonesia, and China.
That is incorrect. So that brings you down,
0.
brings you down to 0. James,
I'm wagering 15 points.
15 points.
I'm going with China, India, Indonesia, and Bangladesh.
That is correct.
Boom!
So James is the big winner today. 46 points to 0. And in case you were wondering, China produces 195 million metric tons of rice. India, 148 million metric tons. Indonesia, 64 million metric tons. And then Bangladesh, 47 million metric tons. So China, a lot of rice.
A lot of rice.
I thought it was going to be not that obvious. So I was trying to, thought it was a trick question, you thought it would be China, but it's not. And
Guess
then
again.
it was.
Yeah, it turns out the 2 most populous countries produce a lot of rice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also thought they have a lot of people. So do they have that much space,
That's a good point. It's a good point.
It's not right,
Evidently,
but,
evidently, yes.
It's a good train of thought, but
Turns out-
not right.
Yes, they do. Is there an all-time leaderboard? 46 points sounds like a lot to me.
46 is the all-time most points ever gotten in a game. So very impressive, James. A very impressive showing.
Thanks. I've been studying for years for this moment.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Lunch Break. Thanks again to our guest, James Carr, for coming in.
Thank you so much. I'm really honored to be here. I'm super excited about the conversation we have and looking forward to listening to more episodes. You guys are doing an awesome job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you can find James and Longleaf Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also longleaf.media.
That's the website.
That's the URL.
That's the URL.
No .com. It's longleaf.media. Well, James, thanks again. I'm AJ McNaughton.
I'm Kathleen Sturgeon.
Be sure to subscribe, and thanks for listening.
That episode was tasty.